second place, he knows who was in that final. He's thinking about it. He doesn't know it yet. But you can hear him a little bit. Anyway, that's my first introduction of the evening. And today, Victor Araiza couldn't make it. He's on assignment. Actually, he's on his way to Mexico because he'll be following the Mexico match taking place tomorrow in Guadalajara. So obviously, we'll be talking about that. But, you know, nobody else was available. There was nobody else that was even interested in being beside me. But we all had to sacrifice. So why don't we bring him in? El Jefe, the one and only. Yes, this is a reunion of sorts. There you see him, Don Enrique Vasquez. First of all, Enrique, it's great to see you. Good evening. How are you, my friend? You're looking good, by the way, Enrique Vasquez. I don't know how you do.
Thank you, Alex Parra. So Azteca was here. Victor couldn't make it. Wilson is on the French Riviera living off the royalties. He couldn't make it either. So you bring me, you called me up, say, hey, what are you doing? And actually, a busy day for me today. I had Astros during the Portugal match today with Congo.
How did it go, by the way, at the Astros? Give me a final.
Astros won. Astros won. They won the series against the Tigers. They won 4-1, 4-2 today, 4-2 yesterday. After losing, dropping the first game on I was about to say match, but no, it's a game. Yeah. It's a baseball game. Juego de pelota on Monday, 10-3. But no, it's great to be alive here in Houston, right? All these sports going on. The world's eyes are on the city of Houston. Houston Stadium, we're going to call it like that. Actually, once the Texan season starts, Alex, it's going to go back to Reliance Stadium. By the way, so anyway, yeah, a good second match in a score that I don't know how many people saw coming, Alex.
You mean the Portugal match? Yeah.
Yeah, the Portugal match
versus DR Congo, whathout a doubt. Enrique Vasquez, a surprise in many ways. CR7 not getting his what's the word I'm looking for? His score, especially after chasing Messi, who got the hat trick last night, Enrique. So we know that's a rivalry. But friends, why don't we start with just an overview, Victor? Victor, you see, I'm going to insult you by saying that. Enrique Vasquez, why don't we talk about the groups as they stand right now? By the way, so the first match for all the teams being played as we speak, Enrique, and Colombia up 1-0 over Uzbekistan, and they're about to roll and start the second half. But this gives you, ladies and gentlemen that are following us, an overview of where we are relative to all of the groups. And Enrique, a lot of groups here, right? I mean, when we get to K and L, you know the field is expanded. Let me get your thoughts on that first, Enrique Vasquez. Is this a better World Cup because there are more teams?
Well, you know what, going in, and I know that you and I had this discussion before when it was announced that we were informed that the field was going to expand to 48, that it was going to be a lot of blowouts. And although there's been a couple, I think for the most part, it's been an entertaining World Cup here in the first round of matches so far. Competitive matches, even the one that we had in Houston to open up, Germany, with Curaçao opening up and picking up a score there in the first half and making it a game for a moment. At least, it didn't turn out to be a match that was close in the end, but it still had its moments. So in the end, I would have, me, Alex, I'm hard to turn my ways from the old ways. But, I would have to say that, I think it's going to work out in the long run. Being that this is the first run for a lot of teams making a World Cup, playing in this stage, and still making a game out of all of them. Of course, they have two more matches to go. We'll still have to see how this first, group stage closes out in the end. But I think so far, first run through, I think it's been a success having 48 teams and the field expanded. We've had soccer at a decent level.
It has been, Enrique. And look, Victor and I talk a lot about the way it used to be in Houston hosting for the first time ever in the history. And you and I remember the dark days, Enrique, where before the MLS, that even thinking of these things was not possible. And least of all, taking over the Texan Stadium and having it focus on the beautiful game. Times have changed, right?
Yeah, times have changed. And actually, on our last podcast, Texans en la Jugada, that we put on HoustonTexans.com.
Always promoting something, Enrique Vasquez.
With Gustavo Rangel, we talked specifically about that, those dark ages where, soccer was just growing here in the city of Houston. Mm-hmm. Gustavo brought up the name Victor Delgadillo and his influence in amateur soccer here in the city of Houston. And, of course, the late Jamie Roots and what he had, hit the hand that he had in developing the city of Houston and this stadium in particular into a world-class venue for world-class soccer matches. So, it's been a slow time in coming. It took 25 years since the stadium was built, but now we have World Cup soccer here. And so far, it's been a success on the field. I've speaking with some people that made it out to the match, the first one, Germany, Curaçao, and then the one today, that there were some issues, people getting into the stadium in a timely fashion. Other than that, I think once the ball's kicked off there at the stadium, it's been an excellent experience for the fans at Houston Stadium.
At Houston Stadium. So why don't we talk a little bit about the groups, first of all, at the end of today, and we're waiting for this Colombia-Uzbekistan match. But if you were a betting man, Enrique, and a lot of people are betting on these matches, you wouldn't be thinking that Congo, DR Congo, would split that match with Portugal. It's a huge surprise, one of the biggest surprises of the tournament so far.
No, certainly it has been, and of course, we'll see. 3 matches is going to be, a big step for them to duplicate this and move on and actually pick up a win. Which, now when we have the 3 best, what is it? The 8 best third place teams that are going to advance to the knockout round. We'll see how that stands in the end. But you would imagine that Portugal is going to go on and step on the gas here the next couple of games and pull out some results. But the truth is that they will have to play much better.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be at a different level, or give respect to DR Congo, by the way, in being able to get this result. And by the way, another member of our team is Katie Umanya, and she was at the stadium today, a stadium you know very well, Enrique. And let's talk a little bit about the match. A lot of attention. Fans were clamoring yesterday to see Portugal arrive, and DR Congo actually have their home training base throughout the World Cup, Enrique, here in Houston. So excitement, and again, it was a David and Goliath. That's the way we presented it yesterday. But a lot of energy, a lot of emotion. Enrique, a stadium you know very well, and that we obviously are good hosts to international sports, and certainly the World Cup for the first time. Second game of 7 that are taking place here.
Yeah, and it's a shame that Portugal couldn't have his seed, his training location here in the city of Houston. For them to have to play 2 games here, now
Correct.
go back to Florida, and then come back again in a week or so. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't know why it wasn't the case. Obviously we're not privy to the negotiations of why teams settled in whatever cities. Kansas City, the Metroplex has they're hosting 3 teams?
Correct.
Does I understand correctly?
Yes.
So why is it?
I think it's Kansas City, no?
Yeah, Kansas City. Yeah, Kansas City. So that's what I'm saying. If they can do it, I don't understand why the city of Houston couldn't, especially with Portugal playing 2 matches here. But anyway.
Yeah, and it could be facilities, or it could be something you and I know very well, Enrique, which is the politics. But all eyes are on CR7. If you're a casual fan, that's what attracted you, and why not? 41 years old, and playing in a World Cup. I mean, he's still there. He and I bet, Enrique, he was thinking, and we mentioned this at the beginning of the show. His rival, Messi, getting the hat trick yesterday, he couldn't score today. A lot of the criticism I read, I heard, I saw during the broadcast was also, you know what, CR7 is in it for himself versus for the team. I think that's a fair criticism.
Yeah, after the match, I saw Thierry Henry on the post-game show talking about, making some runs or not making runs, not creating spaces for his teammates or not creating spaces for his teammates, a little bit selfish play on his behalf. And, I don't know, a player that's accomplished so much in his career, is he really thinking about Messi? I would have to say yes, right? It seems like that ego maybe stepped on his way to maybe perhaps play a better match. But we'll see what he's able to do here in the next couple of games. But yeah, certainly Messi just at another level. I mean, at his age, not only scoring those 3 goals, but just being such a factor, knowing. But by the same token, when you give a player of that caliber that much space, Alex, but even you could have scored with that much space.
Even Alex Parra might have had a go at it. It's the age, Enrique, of CR7, which we're looking at on screen, and Messi, I don't think could have existed 30 years ago. because they would have been targeted. And I say this with all respect to their ability. They're the GOATs. I can't take anything away from them. But Enrique, you remember Maradona and the way in '86, speaking of my friend here, Azteca, he was getting hacked constantly. And literally it was the Koreans, the Germans, many teams did it. And it was to literally neutralize him. I think if that had, if in this day and age, there's more respect to, you know what, let them play. And I get it because it's part of the show. It's part of being a professional. But back in the day, Enrique, they would have taken these two out. Like you said, don't give him space. Literally, have someone grab him and stay with him. Don't deny him the ball. I know it's easier said than done, but that's a strategy that's just not being used.
Well, that's why God stepped in '86 and gave him a hand. So.
That's why he won the Emmy, friends, by the way. You can see the Emmy. Award-winning Enrique Vasquez.
Right. But you know what? But talking about freedom, obviously the controversy with Messi in the game yesterday is that he should have been red carded.
He should have.
Alex, there's no way there's no way that, number one, that can't be called a foul, and that's a straight red. But you know, he didn't. The ref didn't have the guts to call it. You know, if Zinedine Zidane was red carded on his home field, there's no reason why Messi shouldn't have been red carded in that match yesterday.
Yeah, you got a really good point. So that was what happened today, friends, at Houston Stadium. Are you used to calling it Houston Stadium? And I know we talked about this. It just doesn't work, does it?
No, not for me. And I hope, you know, soon enough when the tournament's over and the World Cup moves on, this, like I mentioned to you, will be Reliant Stadium again. Same company, just different name, slightly different name. And what's a big season for the Texans coming up. But it's hard to believe that this stadium has existed here next to the Astrodome for 25 years, Alex. 25 years.
Enrique, I mean, I was thinking about that. And, of course, no decisions have been made about the Astrodome. It's still there, vacant, by the way, not being used. So that's a whole other conundrum. But is it time to modernize the stadium? I think it has to be. It's like a house, Enrique. It needs maintenance.
Well, they did. They were able to do some things. Obviously, before the last football season, they updated or upgraded the video screens, both giant screens on both end zones. The audio system was upgraded. And not only that, but the control room, the video control room was also upgraded, which is across the street. But yeah, I mean, they did some upgrades in the stadium, but it's certainly not at the par of some of the newer stadiums. But I mean, you know, for a 25-year-old building, it's still not bad. And it's funny to see on social media all these European fans that show up here in the U.S. And not only here at Houston, but all the other stadiums, whether it's Dallas, Arlington, or SoFi, or even in Atlanta. The rave reviews that have been posted by, you know, Europeans that come in and say, hey, look, this is U.S. American stadiums, or just at a totally different level. And even Azteca Stadium, you know, with the remodeling that it had, it reminded me, you know, when I was in high school, I had an old beat up car.
A long time ago.
And I had an old beat up car, Alex, Parra, and I hooked up some little lights to the speakers so they would light up. That's what Azteca Stadium reminds me of. It's a pretty stadium. It's a beautiful tradition, 3 World Cups and all that. But man, it's an old building that they put some lights up, but it still needs a lot of work to be at the level of something like even NRG or Arlington, of course, or down SoFi in LA.
Yeah, no, I think relative to the rest of the world, the stadiums in the United States are world class. By the way, if you're just joining us, Victor couldn't make it, so we found this guy down here, Don Enrique Vasquez, a reunion of sorts. Enrique and I go way back.
I'm in Group V, playing in Group V, right?
Exactly. You qualified, Enrique. You know, you were talking about Dallas, so let's talk a little bit about the match that took place today. So the Lone Star State shining again. 2 matches held today. England finding a way to win versus Croatia. Good European match, 4-2. Harry Kane shining. How do you see England? You know, they're always favorites until they break their hearts, their fans' hearts, kind of like Mexico, not being favorites, but they break their fans' hearts. Does England have, after this win, you think, momentum? And, you know, you don't want to peak too early in this tournament, Enrique, but England is one of the favorients.
And especially with one of the old guys, saying, "Hey, I can do it too," right?
Exactly.
Kane with a couple of goals. What is he? 35.
He is
35-year-old. So he puts in a couple that helps England. But like you said, for them, it's kind of like the Texans. Going back to my comparison that I'm more familiar with. until they do it in the postseason, right? Until they do it in the knockout stage, and until they do it in those final rounds, England, whatever they do in the group stage, they're going to advance, come out of the group,
Yeah.
Alex. But what's important to them and what matters to them, and where he's going to make his mark, Kane, that is, and the rest of the guys, it's going to be coming out of Group L.
Well, and you can see the group quickly, Enrique. Ghana winning literally in the last second of the match versus Panama. And again, I didn't expect that. I expected maybe Panama to be looking for that third place. But when you start early like this and you pick up those 3 points, anything can happen. I still believe that Croatia can pick up at least another 3 points. Enrique, but it has to be played out, and you just never know. And by the way, we were talking about how this is the match that's going on now, Colombia and Uzbekistan. I'm watching it on another monitor here, Enrique. Starting tomorrow, and we'll talk about tomorrow's matches, is the second match. So this is moving along pretty quickly. But quickly, how do you see Ghana and their possibilities with 3 points? Anything's possible.
It was a shame that Panama, for CONCACAF's sake, couldn't hold that result. And it's sort of a defensive mistake there on the goal, Alex. You as a defender playing soccer during your life,
Allegedly,
you see that defender with the ball going toward the corner. Why does he slide tackle? Yeah. And he misses, and now he opens up the angle to come in, approach, and make the cross or take the shot, put the shot on goal. But again, it's a shame Panama and CONCACAF in general. So far it's been a pretty good showing for another region that we believe maybe wasn't worthy of getting that extra bid, getting into the World Cup. But one of the other surprises. But again, it's a shame that Panama couldn't hold that result. It was a good and entertaining match. I got a chance to watch most of it this afternoon. But picking up that goal late and the 3 points for Ghana was a big win.
Friends, thanks to all you that are joining us. I'm joined by the one and only Don Enrique Vasquez. Enrique, I wanted to show off your studio because Enrique is just not only on Live at Night Soccer Talk with Alex Parra, but he knows very well the sport of American football, the voice of the Houston Texans, the voice of the Oklahoma Sooners. Enrique, this fall will be year number 10?
Number 10, calling Oklahoma football, and success for Oklahoma. They're playing Georgia tonight in the College World Baseball Series. So we'll see if they win today, they get into the championship round. But so congratulations to the University of Oklahoma, who's done a lot to back us on this project. The football broadcast in Spanish this last women's basketball season. The University of Oklahoma was the first one to launch the Spanish broadcast of women's basketball. Wow. Which we're proud to have that be the first university to do so. Our friend Danny Gonzalez called most of those games, as I was not available because I was doing rodeo. That's a lot of fun to work with Oklahoma. Really nice people there at Oklahoma, Alex.
Absolutely, Enrique. You and I I was proud to be part of year number 1, and it's an experience I will never forget, but I can't believe it's been a decade already, Enrique Vasquez. Yeah. So not only is the voice of the Texans, the voice of the Sooners, you can see the Emmy behind him, but he's also broadcasting, like he has many times, the Houston Astros. You mentioned that the Astros picking up a win today, Enrique Vasquez, and the rodeo. Enrique, thank you for having time to be with us. I mean, I'll send you the check. It won't be a lot, but I'll send you the check.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I've had a chance now to coming up now 5 years with Houston Rodeo. Wow. And the last 2 years, also had a chance to work Fort Worth and San Antonio at the beginning of the year. So it's a nice little change of pace. Not your typical U.S. sports, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to follow those guys. Just humble, hardworking guys and athletes that compete on the rodeo circuit, and to get a chance to get know some of those guys, and then also with our partners with Telemundo, who put the coverage on. It's been pretty successful. People have followed it and enjoyed it, so we're going to keep doing it as long as they keep calling me. Absolutely.
Well, you deserve it, Enrique, and you're amazing. Let's focus back a little bit on soccer. And friends, if you have questions or comments, send them to us via. We're live on Deportes Nation YouTube, Facebook, and the X, formerly Twitter. So comments, questions, usually Victor monitors. We'll do our best to monitor. Enrique, hosting in Houston, I know that we have another very interesting matchup coming up here with Netherlands and Sweden on Saturday. Do you think we're into it? From a media point of view, from a fan point of view, from a business point of view, take whichever angle you want. Is Houston into it? Is this is this the potential moment, chispa, spark that propels the sport in Houston to another level?
You know what? I think outside of Houston, and if you were just to go by what you see on screen on the coverage, whether it's Fox or Telemundo, I would say that the soccer and the World Cup here in Houston have been a success so far. Packed stadiums, the energy has been excellent. My partner on the Texans, Gustavo Raquel, has been at the stadium covering the event so far, and that's what he has mentioned. Now, when you go outside the stadium and the difficulties that have been present. Getting into the stadium today, there was a couple of videos that I saw posted of the fans an hour before kickoff. The lines were just huge, trying to get into the stadium, and that just goes back to whatever it is that FIFA did to change the natural flow of traffic for the fans to get in and out of the stadium has certainly impacted that. I think from what I understand, Alex, they shut down a couple of the parking lots. So then basically to get to the stadium, you either have to Uber, get dropped off, or ride the tram, and that's been difficult for people to go in and out of the stadium. Now, it's not like, the stadium's not used to handling 71,000 people on a weekly basis for Texan season or for the rodeo for that matter. So, it's unfortunate that some decisions probably were made not really fully understanding what the city and the building and the people that run the infrastructure of getting people in and out really understood. But beyond that, and from what I understand, the fan experience once you get into the building has been excellent.
Look, Enrique, it's easy to criticize it. Maybe we're mellowing out in our old age, as you can see the white in our beards, Enrique. But look, nothing is perfect, right? Maybe as a younger man, I would have criticized the heat. Nobody can control that. The location of Fan Fest maybe in Edo, and what's coming up on Saturday is that at Rice, the Dutch fans are going to gather. I believe it's a 2-mile walk to the stadium. Beginning in the morning, of course it's summer, but I expect that to be packed, and not only with Dutch fans that are coming from the exterior, from Europe, but fans that want to experience and be a part of that, because that's something that's unique. My point, Enrique, is it's easier to criticize. I see a lot more positive than negative. And by the way, a shout out to our friend Patty Smith, who's running the Fan Fest. Look, you have to deal with weather, with thunderstorms, with too many people. You're never going to please everybody, but things seem to be so far so good, moving along, and that's a positive thing. You can dwell on the negative. You can dwell on the prices, Enrique Vasquez. You can dwell on the heat. You can dwell on having to stand in a queue or a line for 30 minutes before you get onto a train. But these things happen in every city. Nothing is perfect. Is that a way to frame it?
Well, it could be, but I mean, the question has to be asked, why wasn't it worked out for us to be able to use George R. Brown for FanFest? It worked out perfectly for the Super Bowl for a couple times already, and everybody loved it. Everybody raved about it. That was one of the reasons why the Super Bowl came back, because the whole experience could be held indoors at the George R. Brown, and you had no worry about having to shut down for the weather, for the heat, and the fans were in a safe location. So, it's a shame that it did get worked out for whatever reason. I'm not privy to any of those negotiations or what happened or why it didn't. But, we have the facilities. It's just a shame that it didn't work out that way. And, for the fact that, the Fan Fest had to be shut down on Monday.
Yeah.
Because of the weather. The tropical storm that rolled through the city this morning turned out to be maybe not too bad, so that cleared up by game time. So that turned out to be a pretty good break for the fans and for the city and for the event. But overall, I think, to me, it seemed like it's been just a totally different vibe from the Super Bowl, like Alex, in that, the Super Bowl had the build up to the weekend.
Yeah.
So there was concerts, you gathered at the Fan Fest, and there was a build up and the energy. More fans came. This seemed like, fans have to come and go because you have to travel so far to catch your team's next match. So it just seems like a different vibe. So, it's hard to guarantee who's going to show up at these businesses and go to the restaurants and go to the bars. I don't know how anybody could have just guaranteed whatever turnout there may have been. But it just seems to me like not that it's bad, it's just different, and the way that people have to go in and out of the city to go catch the next match is just, to me, is just a different experience than coming here for the Super Bowl that's going to happen, like on a weekend.
Victor and I were talking about this, I think 1 or 2 nights ago, Enrique. Also, knowing Houston, you know how spread out it is. Knowing Houston, right. You know how, yes, a fan coming in from Portugal and not knowing the city, they probably want to stay at a hotel close to the stadium. But there's really no no nightlife, no entertainment
Right.
district right close to the stadium. So they have to go downtown. They have to go other places. And also, you think about suburbs like Sugarland, Katy, the Woodlands. It's so spread out. This is not a walking city. So
Yeah.
maybe that's part of the learning curve for all of us in Houston about hosting. And you're right. You make a really good point about the George R. Brown maybe hosting the Fan Fest, and also about educating fans. Yes, we're trying to mold to maybe the way the European way is of taking
Yeah.
public transport. But you know that most people here are used to driving their pickup truck or their SUV and parking at the
Well,
lot, and that's the way it works.
yeah, and again, that's how NRG Stadium was designed, and it was designed to be able to accommodate the big traffic and
Yeah.
the parking lots. But when those are shut down, and now you have to alternate, now you maybe duplicate the amount of people that the capacity that the train has to bring into to the stadium area. It just bottlenecks everything. So it's a shame that happened that way. And but like you said, overall, I think once you get into the stadium, once the ball rolls, it's been a great experience. The stadium looks spectacular on TV. The fans and the energy that you feel. The matches have been, the 7-1 blowout, but Curaçao had their moments, so I think that made it worth the end result of that match. But so far, it's been excellent. I think in that regard, the experience in the stadium once the ball gets going.
The one and only Enrique Vasquez with us as we're showing you images again of the match that took place today, match number 2 between Portugal and DR Congo. Enrique, let's talk about the media coverage locally and also Telemundo versus the Fox, which broadcast, which is English and Spanish and English respectively. I've seen a lot more media, local media, mainstream media in Houston, and that's changing, by the way, because I also see influencers all over the place. Some that I don't even know, Enrique, that are getting access to the stadium and beyond. Let's talk about local. Is mainstream media catching on to what this World Cup thing is? Not the kickball. Remember, there's a lot of those that still think this is kickball, and it's not. It's here to stay, Enrique. Are people changing their minds as far as coverage? This is who we are today.
Well, I think, Alex, and I want to commend you and applaud you for the efforts that you've had. I think you had a hand in doing your part to get the message out, the word out. With somebody who has lived the soccer experience here in the city of Houston for a very long time. Your work with the Dynamo now, of course, is excellent as well. So,
Thank you.
kudos to you. Kudos to locally Fox that has recognized that, what you can bring to the table. So hopefully, more fans are engaged in that matter. But yeah, for me, watching the games, I've had the privilege of being able to watch both Fox, obviously Telemundo as well, and then TV Azteca out of Mexico City. So it's been fun. It's been fun to watch those different entities broadcast and what they bring to the table, and some positives, some negatives for all of them. But it's good to see. And again, going back to the experience that has been the Cup so far. I think there were so many people that were talking about how fans are going to be corralled by ICE. There's going to be trouble for foreigners or tourists visiting the city. That has not been the case. That hasn't been the case. It's been fun to see on social media people from different countries come together, whether it's in Mexico, matches in Mexico, or wherever they have been here in the United States. It's been pretty cool. And the thing is that we haven't really had access like that until now with social media, Alex. Previous World Cups that were either held at different odd hours, not to our hours here in the United States.
Right.
But now to be able to see those videos on social media has been pretty cool. Just the regular fan and the experience that they've had. The Japan fans cleaning up the stadium there in Arlington after the match. Fans in Mexico, South Korean fans with Mexican fans. They're having fun until maybe tomorrow when they face each other. But it's been pretty cool so far. And all those people that were claiming gloom and doom for the fan experience here for these matches, I think they've been completely way off. I think it's been a hit so far.
It has been, Enrique. Again, nothing is perfect, and no matter what category you use, whether it's the product on the field, the coverage, the logistics, the security side, so far so good. Now we still have a long way to go, Enrique.
Yeah, and I did see an article today. I think it was the New York Times talking about, and they were criticizing. It's easy to criticize how it's felt to them that this has been not a unified presentation of North America. It's been like a campaign in the U.S. and Canada and Mexico, and not a unified message. But Alex, I mean, you're talking about three different countries, potentially three different languages, cultures are different. You would expect it to be different.
Politically different, yeah.
Politically different. So I don't know that that's a negative. Each brings their own little special, touch, and that's okay. There's no reason why the Mexican presentation has to match exactly what they do here in the U.S. and that they both have to do the same thing in Canada. I don't know why I don't know why they expected that. It's a totally different market.
A total different market, a totally different approach. In one way, Enrique, there's still education that has to take place in this market of letting people know. I was sitting with some non-soccer people 2 days ago, and they were still asking about the length of the games, what's this offside thing, and that's fine. You're bringing in more fans that at least are watching. How long are the halves? How long does this go? Yeah. So culturally, sports
Why are there quarters now? Why do we have quarters in soccer now?
Hydration break. To be honest with you, that's what it is now. That's the reality of it, right?
Yeah, of course. And again, if we want to see the best product on the field, there's nothing wrong with having a hydrated, maybe slightly rested athlete to finish out a match, once we get 3 games deep into the tournament. There's nothing wrong with that. This isn't the soccer that was played 20, 30 years ago, Alex Parra. You watch those games from then, those guys barely ran compared relative to how they run and the physicality that the guys have to, put on the field in any kind of match nowadays.
It was survival, Enrique, at that time, yeah. which with the mandate of no, there's no clock here. You keep going. This is more realistic. And Enrique, I'll be honest with you. We live in Houston. You and I have been at Shell Energy Stadium for different matches, broadcasts. It's almost impossible to try to play 90 minutes there consecutively, 45 and 45 plus stoppage time, of course, without hydration. It literally could be dangerous to someone's health, to their life. So we have to adapt and adjust to these things. I think most people are accepting of this, and I think it's fair for both teams. It's not like one team's getting more, creating an advantage because of it.
Right. And then, of course, they say, well, why do you need a hydration break inside NRG Stadium or Houston Stadium? Obviously, you don't. But you have to be fair to all the matches.
Correct.
You can't just take breaks. There's a risk of injury, perhaps, or an advantage that is gained by the teams that are playing in the heat, perhaps, that are taking a break in that hydration break. So you have to do it evenly. If you do it for one, you have to do it for all. So that makes sense to me. And then the other thing that people are upset about, well, why are they going to break and why are they staying? And that being an issue. Why do I care to see you guys drinking water? Why is that an issue that I'm deprived of that because they wanted to and take a break and showed a commercial in a sport that it's a business. And again, there's nothing wrong with them making money. That's what drives all of this. And this is, this can benefit all the federations with getting a little bit more cash. I just don't see what is wrong with that for us missing out 3 minutes for them to catch. And of course, we're not missing out on the play anyway, because that time is added on at the end of the half regardless. So I don't know what the big uproar is over guys being able to take a sip of water.
Enrique, I think this is progress relative to also the introduction of technology, the VAR. We've seen this in all sports, technology coming in and helping make better decisions, maybe not always perfect decisions.
Unless you're named Messi.
Exactly. Which again, at the perfect example of how we have the technology, it just wasn't used, right? But meaning the sport, the sport is evolving, Enrique, and you're right. And you and I have had these literally 25, 30 years discussions about what this is. It's business. And it's entertainment, and these factors have to be taken into consideration versus only one way. So this is part of what this is. I'm going to jump in real quick, Enrique. I know there's one more match going on right now before the end of the evening, and now, in Mexico City, Colombia, in the 77th minute, up 2-1 over Uzbekistan. So
we can say that.
We can say that.
Okay. All right.
We can say it. We can't show it.
We just can't say it in Spanish because we don't have a translator, right? We don't have a translator.
Exactly. By the way, what do you think of these rules, Enrique, of how we should comport ourselves, of how FIFA wants control, but man, how much is too much?
I can understand what their policy was and what they were thinking. I just don't understand why, knowing that you're coming to the Americas where there's Spanish-speaking media, there's going to be there to cover it. Why they just didn't have a Spanish-speaking translator on hand. That's really the only the only place they dropped the ball. I can understand why, the press conference is going to be to where everybody can understand it. Well, you need a translator, and if you don't have one, then that's not fair to the non-Spanish speakers. That makes sense to me.
Sure.
It maybe came across as oh, here's the U.S. trying to impose an anti-immigrant type of policy type of thing, but no, it really didn't have anything to do with that. Once we understand that. Then it makes sense, if you're from Uzbekistan and there's a question in Spanish, you want to know what's going on, and that makes sense.
Enrique, quickly, one more, and then we'll talk about what's coming up tomorrow. But the days of the mainstream media, again, we talked about this earlier today, are changing. Influencers, people that really aren't traditional media having access. Does that bother you, concern you? Does it matter? We've changed. In Houston, let's say the main channels, my understanding was some weren't even accredited, and some weren't even coming because Fox of having the rights. And I'll verify some of those facts, Enrique. But times have changed. I'm looking at some people that are 20 years old and have 3 million followers, and that's the coverage versus the traditional way of doing things. Again, evolving?
Yeah, evolving, and now the video that goes viral is not the goal, is not the whatever happens on the field. It's the video of you reacting to how the goal was scored, and something different, a different way to enjoy this tournament, this great event. But yeah, like you said, time is changing, and I still get bothered, Alex, by watching a video that's vertical. I'm still the guy that's going to grab their phone, and when I'm recording a video, I have to turn it sideways. I just can't stand a video that's that's vertical. So don't talk to me about influencers and new age social media. I'm just barely turning the corner on. Okay, I got to post something on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm with you, Enrique Vasquez. It just doesn't seem kind of the right way of doing it. Let's jump ahead to tomorrow, Enrique Vasquez. Thursday, some matches that are in the first set of second game matches coming in, including Mexico, where our friend, our colleague Victor Araiza will be tomorrow in Guadalajara. Mexico taking on the Korean Republic. Also Canada, one of the host nations, in their second match versus Qatar. Czechia taking on South Africa. Switzerland versus Bosnia-Herzegovina. Enrique, now you talk about these things such as, and we've mentioned some of these things, that this is match number 2 for the team. So now it starts wearing. The travel starts affecting things.
Yeah.
The mileage starts piling on. Maybe that's another way to say it.
Yeah, and I had this and I lost it here, Alex. But tomorrow in that Czechia South Africa match, it will be a trio of officials, game officials, all women from the U.S. who will be officiating that
awesome.
match.
That's
so
awesome.
That's another cool feature for tomorrow. Keep an eye on that. Soccer, of course, being at the forefront on the women's side here in the U.S. So the fact now that we're going to have 3 U.S. women officiating that match is pretty cool.
It's very cool, and again, crossing lines that in the past were not even considered possible. Yeah. I heard a very interesting comment from a South American broadcast, Enrique, saying how beautiful it was, how nice it was that children and families can come to the games. Meaning in many countries, not only South America, but Europe and other places, this is a place, matches, certainly at the professional level, even at the amateur level, are places where men congregate. You and I know about the ultras in Italy. You and I know about how in Europe the hooligans literally are gangs, are organized crime. It's a different vibe here when you have families with their kids, the elderly like Alex Parra, and we're all getting along and enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe, is what I'm trying to say, right?
No, it has been. It has been. And like you said, again, go back to some of those European fans that are showing up here at the stadiums, making it a road trip. a month-long road trip. That fan from Germany, Freddie, who all of a sudden was greeted by J.J. Watt, welcomed him to Houston with a 5-star hotel. He signed a jersey for him and made him feel welcome. All those fans that are stopping at Buc-ee's and just going crazy over these big barbecue sandwiches. And it's been pretty cool. It's been really neat to see all these fans come to the U.S. and just appreciate, how good we have it here, Alex. I think, unfortunately, we take it for granted.
We do.
The sense you get here in the States by a lot of people is that, everybody hates the U.S. outside of the U.S. and it's far from the truth. I mean, for all these fans that have shown up, they wanted to come here to watch soccer, number one, but now they're coming to find out that, hey, look how beautiful Alabama is. Look how beautiful the city of Houston NRG Stadium is, and look how well and how nice and how comfortable life is here in the U.S. and we seem to take it for granted for the most part, unfortunately.
Amen, Enrique. I don't want to get too political, but a lot of people come here and they say, man, what can I do to stay here? Because I don't want to go back to where I come from, where women and children can come to the games, and it's a completely different vibe where you literally could be fearing for your life. So, friends, we're going to wrap up here for this evening. It's been amazing to have Enrique Vasquez with me. We talked a little bit about tomorrow's game, so we'll be our commitment is to have daily coverage. I don't know if we'll invite Enrique back. I really don't. He hasn't done very well this evening. That's a big joke. No. Enrique, it's always great to be with you. We still have a few minutes, but anything else that we haven't talked about that maybe you want to discuss regarding the World Cup or soccer in general, and maybe more toward our city, the legacy, Enrique? Maybe I'll ask you that once these games are done. And actually, before you know it, it'll be done. We have games that are coming up, and then they're gone. Is this going to leave a positive legacy for the sport in Houston?
I hope so. I mean, I think, again, going back to what the fans have experienced inside the stadium, I think has been positive. I think maybe some business people have been disappointed with how the traffic has worked out or not for them, business-wise.
Sure.
Maybe people were expecting more folks to step out into the downtown area and spend money there and visit some of their establishments. That hasn't been the case. Again, I think it just seems to be a different traffic pattern for these World Cup games, and that fans need to come and get in and out of the city quickly because they have to move on. The tournament's still going. Hopefully, by the time you get to a round of 32, or when the stadium hosts a couple second round, knockout phase matches, that maybe changes. But I think in general, has been a positive experience, and I hope that people understand the importance of how the city of Houston has stepped up in this regard in the eyes of the world, and now has firmly established itself as a genuine soccer city at the world-class level.
Yeah, absolutely, it has. Before we leave you, friends, let's take a look one more time at the groups. As, by the way, the last game of Group K and of the first games of this first round are being played in Mexico City. 86 minutes, Colombia up 1-0 over Uzbekistan. So
2-1 now. Colombia's up 2-1 now.
2-1. If I misspoke, I apologize. 2-1. So right now the 3 points would go to Colombia, who are maybe less than 10 minutes away from that. And by the way, Colombia just missing wide. That might have been number 3. And yes, I guess I can mention that. Enrique Vasquez, it's always a pleasure to be with you. I can't thank you enough. Hopefully you won't be a stranger. I know you got 27 other commitments, but we'll bring you in if you're available, even if Victor's here. Why not? Victor, by the way, friends, is headed to Mexico, to Guadalajara for the Mexico match tomorrow. So we'll see if he can report back on that match. Enrique, any closing words? I know you got a lot of stuff going on still, some Astros this summer?
Yeah, some Astros this summer. I've got another 12 games or so here this summer before football kicks off for me. But my next Astros game broadcast not until July. So, on Space City Home Network. So I'll have a chance to come on with you and Victor and enjoy some soccer talk with you. So it'll be a lot of fun. And looking forward to tomorrow, of course, with Mexico and then the U.S. on Friday after their great start last week.
You can count on it, Enrique, because you know what? We don't have one of those in the background in Emmy. So now you lend us legitimacy. So it's huge to have you with us. Don Enrique Vasquez, I can't thank you enough for being with us. You made this show special for me, and certainly I hope for all of you fans that are watching and know Enrique Vasquez and his work well. So Enrique, unless
you book Wilson for the next show, I'm available. So.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll just take this little guy instead. I don't know. No, we'll make you available. So, friends, on behalf of the production crew, by the way, a lot of people working behind the scenes to make this happen. On behalf of Victor, on behalf of Katie, and on behalf of Enrique Vasquez, I'm Alex Parra. Thanks to all of you for watching us, for following us. Our commitment is to continue. So please take care of yourselves. Keep watching soccer. And until tomorrow, have a great night.